All right, so I'd like to welcome you all to Young Black Entrepreneur Magazine. My name is Okiba Jabalo. I am the founding editor and publisher of YBE, and we have a special guest today. And he's a near and dear friend, and more than a friend, I would say, brother from another mother. Down at Road,
we might actually be, we did
right.
Some things that, hey,
Yeah, so it's I want to welcome Mr. Ed Garnes, you know what I'm saying, and put your hands together. And brother, please give us a touch of who you are.
Well, I'm a Southern boy, sweet tea enthusiast from Atlanta, Georgia. My people is from Vicksburg, Mississippi, and South Georgia. So I never try to rise above my raisins, but I'm the founder of From Afros to Shell Toes and our major programming series, Sweet Tea Ethics. And essentially what we do is we make psychological development and emotional healing palatable to Black audiences, right? And so we do that through curriculum development, through programs, through lectures, and we just try to serve the community needs on a mental health level. I was trained and mentored by who is considered the godfather of Black psychology, Dr. Joe White. So under his leadership is where I started to develop, from Afros to Shell Toes. And so we are at almost 20 years now. Dr. White passed a few years ago, but we are probably at almost 20 years of doing work, Black psych work, man.
Okay. So one of the things that brought us to this point right here was the recent passing of Michael K. Williams. And yes. You wrote a piece about that.
Yeah.
And of course, we talk about it often, you know what I'm saying? But it really struck a nerve, not only with me, but also in our community and everything. So, with YBE, we pride ourselves on telling the stories that need to be told. And when addressing the mental health of Black men, you know what I'm saying? There's a transition from being the Black boy to the Black man. And then on from that transition, when you look at, when you realize that folks really don't care about you like that, you know what I'm saying? And unless you're an athlete, a musician, like if you're famous for the right reasons, but if you're the regular 9 to 5 trying to figure it out, brother, you know what I'm saying? Folks really don't care about you. So with your piece, frame that up for us. And the link will be, down low so you all can read it and everything. We'll make sure we publish that in October's issue. But just frame it up, like where exactly were you coming from with that?
Well, I mean, you articulated some of the points very well, which shows that we are on the same wavelength, because you basically summarized my main points. So the collective experience of Black men is one of a constant reclamation project. We're trying to reclaim our dignity. We're trying to reclaim our humanity. So our whole existence is one major reclamation project mentally. And so what I was trying to do with the Michael K. Williams piece is that I've been saying this for 20 years about Black male development. I've been programming. I'm a Black man. I got close to almost 50 years experience, even though I look 12 as being a Black man. How can I pull everything together that I've been talking about and have people hear me on a mass level? So really, Michael K. is an extended metaphor for all of us. He's the perfect example because of who he is. It's his character and humanity. Like, he does not, even though he's a celebrity and in Hollywood, he never changed his regular, everyday Black man flow. So he becomes the picture that everyone can realize. And the reason why we're so hurt and messed up, we feel like he's family. That's how I started off the piece. Like, we feel like he's a regular brother. Yes, he's achieved some success. He hasn't rose above his race and looked down on anyone. So it was his humanity that I was trying to reach the masses. I don't think that Michael K's death, in some cases, is a case of celebrity worship. Like, we worship celebrities. But I think Michael K's humanity and how he treated people despite fame is why people are so touched. Because when you look at the responses, they're not fodder or fluff. Michael K. Williams came to my high school and taught, did a free program. Like, when you look at the things that he did, he touched people on a mass level. And so what I wanted to do was to explain that white supremacy and the notions of white supremacy are not always, it's a subtlety to it. It's not always in your face. And so a lot of theories talk about I call them slow death theories. Talk about how everyday indignities that black men experience is a death. Like Dr. Gregory Ellison, good brother I grew up with at Emory, calls it cut dead but still alive. Du Bois calls it double consciousness. Dr. Bettina Love, shout out sister, UGA Education Department, talks about how these things that black people experience is killing us mentally. And so we're struggling with not only being a black man, but being in and not of America, and constantly having to reclaim aspects of our humanity. Why that's important is that psychological development, human recognition is the building block. Affirmation, human recognition. When you're a baby and you're in the hospital, that's why they come by at a certain period of time, touch you, rock you to sleep. You do the skin on skin with mother, because that connection psychically helps your development.
So let me ask you this. So when looking at speaking about black men and mental health, one of the things that I've constantly been met with is that whenever I, like, let's say use social media as that platform.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I speak about anything going on with black men and our mental health, I'm constantly met with, well, black women going through so and so and so and so. You know,
always
this other thing, or you have the white passive aggressive person, or the, you know what I'm saying? You always have somebody that wants to deflect away from what it is that I'm talking about as a black man. I can't even speak about my mental health without somebody else stomping on it as if it doesn't exist. So how do we maneuver that part of the American reality around being a black man? It's like we all need healing. We all need a level of engagement. Like you said, like a mother skin on skin. But it's like we don't even get to get the skin on skin. Because
they're like, okay, take the baby.
Yeah. So what are we supposed to do from your space?
Well, I think, a lot of people don't like to go back to slavery, but I'm going to go back there psychically so you can understand the psychological damage. The reason why the black man was so tormented during slavery, separated from the family, instituting butt breaking, doing public displays of the person who had the most talent, humiliating that person, because we have what it takes to succeed. We are equipped with a certain level of resilience that makes white folks nervous, right? So they have to come at us hard. The problem in the black community is we play the game of the sisters have it bad, do brothers have it bad. We are drinking the same white supremacist Kool-Aid. It's just ours might be red and theirs might be orange. So when we stop trying to have the oppression Olympics about who has it worse, then we can articulate the unique differences of sisters and brothers. Now, where brothers' red Kool-Aid is a little different is the level of hostility that is attached to our physical presence. Like we were talking the other day in white spaces, I'm an academic, man. And now I'm going to need bifocals for it. Oh, I got new glasses because I'm reading too much, right? I'm an academic. Even in the academy, I am looked at as bigger than you. I think you about 6 feet, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how much they fear me. So even the fact that I'm short in stature, my presence is intimidating. You know what I'm saying? That's a little what is different and unique about the black man experience. Just our presence, waking up, walking down the street in a hoodie, we are intimidating. And it's something that our general presence, it feeds on the insecurity of white men. So they have to come at us hard. And so in doing that, when you have a system that's against you, the system has a way of tainting everyone against you. So if you look at the black community, what's the first thing they do for government assistance? You can't have a man in the home. Why? You break down the black family, you break down everything. So the system is designed in certain unique ways to put barriers up for us. And what happens with brothers is that all of us have different levels of coping. There are things that you're gonna cope with fine. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna be ready to smack somebody, right? So everyone is not equipped with the coping strategies necessary to navigate what we are doing. And so that's why I got into psychology, and Dr. White had the presence of mind to say, what you're doing is psych development, because I'm trying to give brothers coping strategies to deal with a system that often forecasts their demise. And so when your demise is forecasted, you have to find unique ways in order to maneuver. And so what the solution that I give near the end, because I'm always about solutions, is that elders, play an important role in transmitting value systems and things that we young brothers need to know. That's why the barbershop is like therapy for us. The barbershop, you can go in there, get a hookup on a car, haircut, get you some Dockers half price, some Nikes on sale, but you're also getting that infinite wisdom from barbershop griots and all-stars that are giving you coping strategies. It's not called therapy, but the same thing I do as far as therapeutic interventions, that's what the barbershop is. You would tell a barber your life story. You're not going to tell anybody a life story. I could go to, I'm in Berkeley. I go to Oakland today, get a haircut, and tell this man about my ex, the struggles of being married and being a PhD. I give him my whole life story because that's a psychic space. That's sacred. We don't have that a lot of times as brothers. So minus that sacred space, two things happen. It either goes inward, depression and anxiety, we hold it in, like Michael K. probably was holding in a lot. Are we externalized? We sell drugs. We kill each other in our community. We're prone to violence. And so that's what happens when you don't have the necessary coping strategies. So for brothers, we have to hold space for them. What does that mean? Giving them an opportunity to articulate their feelings without judgment or ridicule. If you provide those kind of spaces for brothers, their psych development is improved.
So when looking at like you've been preaching this gospel for 20 years, 20 as long as I know. And I've known you longer than 20 years.
Yeah, we've known each other almost 25 years. Like, y'all known you over half my life. I've known you.
Right. So when looking at how long you've been on this campaign, do you feel like the Michael Williams, it kind of cleared the wax out of people's ears to allow for them to hear you differently now? Or
I actually wrote it in the spirit of just giving, and I had no expectations for reception. But I can say I am 5,000% shocked that people actually read it and was moved. Because only because, especially being a writer, in this space, I'm old school. I still write essays. Nobody reading essays. Unless it's a video, you got a nice background, nobody give a damn what you're talking about. So the fact that people actually took the time to read, I really appreciate that, because I was trying to take a nuanced subject and just break it down. And so what Michael K. provided is a window. It's almost like a championship. The right pieces got to be in place to get the chip. So I was like, the right pieces are in place for maybe someone to hear me because of who this brother was and meant to people. So maybe if I use him as a metaphor, because I was affected too. The first paragraph is me trying to process the death myself. I said, okay, can this be an opportunity where we win the mental health championship, where we get people talking about the larger issues? Because if we limit his death to just drug abuse, we let white supremacy off the hook. What did this brother do? Like, if he was confused sexually, like he talked about being molested, it was glossed over. And he kept talking about it. It was glossed over. Okay, well, tell us about your next movie, Michael. I know you were touched when you were young, but let's move on. So we don't know what that did, that he's expressing pain and nobody cares. And then in his roles, he's actually summoning or conjuring this emotional display that he is challenged with himself. So in many ways, the characters that he plays are extensions of him. So if he has these unresolved emotions, where does he go with it? Because it might not just be a role for him. He's re-articulating traumas that he's had.
So when looking at that, when looking at the self-medication part, because that's a part that, of course, played a part in his death. But when looking at that part, it's like we're going to self-medicate in some shape, form, or fashion. With me, I've dealt with depression since my dad died when I was 10 years old. And back then, I didn't know it was depression. But as an adult, I know that now. So one of the things that I learned is my measure and my movement around self-medicating is through creating. Because either I can be constructive or destructive. I really only have two gears about it. You know what I'm saying? So when looking at his battle with his addictions and so many other brothers that's going through it,
Mhm.
how should we? What are some of the things that we can do in order for us to get it? Because it's like you're building an airplane 10,000 feet up, and now you got to try and figure this out while people are even ignoring the reality that you're going through. So, what are some things that we can do in regards to how do we tackle that, the whole self-medication, and how do we do it in a healthy way?
Yeah, I think that what you're really articulating is what we would call in the psych world is just general self-awareness, right? I understand that maybe I have an issue self-medicating. I'm unsure of where to go with this, right? So I think this proper starting point is to make the connection between self-medication and what are the things that trigger it, right? So pay attention to like making the connection between your thoughts, your behaviors and emotions and how they're intertwined. So a perfect example of that is I like sweet tea. Y'all know it. I got sweet tea ethics. My sweet tea intake is increased when white supremacist episodes happen to me. So if I have had an incident with white supremacy, I'm drinking 2 gallons because for me, that represents peace. It represents a way to relax. So whenever I'm triggered in that way, I self-medicate with tea. Now, tea has caffeine, and there's probably some reasons why at my old age I'm probably gonna have some health issues. But I think we all do that, right? So we have to change self-medication from a negative perspective to replacing it with something positive. So we have these negative copings, like we kill each other, violence, drugs, self-medication. How do we replace that when triggered with something more positive? Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's a documentary. Maybe it's calling friends. Like, we're triggered. We call each other, brother. I'm about to lose my scholarship. You know what I'm saying? So we replace those negative things with positive things that will give us, some healing and some positivity. But to make the connection that self-medication, there's normally a trigger. There's normally something mentally that you think and behaviors follow. And so how do we come up with alternate behaviors that are more positive? Because you're finding what you're essentially saying, that they're subtle. I'm trying to find a way to cope with things, and self-medication is my way. So we have to change that coping strategy to something more positive and uplifting and empowering. And so that's where mentoring and holding space for each other. My father passed just like your father passed. And he passed later in my life, people fill those gaps for me. So when I'm struggling, when I'm triggered, I turn to the village. So I have mentors like Dr. Woodard, that's a sociologist. Dr. Mills, who I think is also a sociologist. I had Dr. Joe White filling that gap. And so right now in my personal struggles in completing this PhD, the West family, Dr. Cornell West and his brother Cliff basically co-signed from Afros to Shell Toes. Without them and Killer Mike introducing me, nobody gives a damn about Ed. So, because we live in a stamp approval institution. And so Cliff West, being here in California and being very fatherly and filling those gaps or the absence of my own father helps me to develop coping strategies because he's giving me things that only an elder can give me. Brother, when you're at the finish line, more things are going to happen to challenge you. This is how you need to operate. So the mentorship from elders is critical in our development. And it's not anything new. That's why I talked about the griot. I don't know where I'm from because the Middle Passage messed that up, but I do know the griot's significance in African culture in dispensing values. And so the mentoring piece is how you also develop coping strategies, because when you're in a new situation and you have no coping strategies to deal with it, you have to develop it. And so the mentorship of other elder Black men is how you start to develop those things that you don't have the resources for.
So when looking at the mentorship part, we have so many young brothers that are being raised by their mothers and the fathers aren't in homes and everything. So what would you tell a Black woman who's raising her son or sons without a man in it? Because I grew up with women around, and I had enough awareness to leave that space and go find the men that I needed in order to help pour into me correctly. So if you're a young brother and you may not have that level of self-awareness, whatever's going on in you,
Yeah.
but what would you tell some of these sisters who are raising their sons where maybe they're not seeing the rage right now, or they're not seeing it play out right now? But what are some of the things that you would tell them to help them navigate those very rough waters that they will?
I would say, sisters, hands up. Nothing moves, whether it's a protest, chicken wing conference, church rally, without sisters. So first, thank sisters for holding it down for us and providing their stability. I would say the most beautiful thing that sisters do in raising children is that single mothers give Black men emotional availability. Because what sisters do is your moral compass is developed from sisters. Right and wrong, your ability, to talk about feelings. Mothers help facilitate that. So those are the positive things that mothers give you. And then the second thing that I would say, there are unique nuances to Black male development that without a Black man in a person's life, they can be successful. I'm not saying that you have to be in a two-parent home, because you could be in a two-parent home and daddy's still absent. But, to try to find mentors for younger brothers where they can express things that Black men understand. You know what I'm saying? Just like we'll never understand what the beauty salon and get nails done is, sisters don't understand how we pour our guts to people that's cutting our hair that we do not know. I mean, we just not gonna get that, right? Because our realities are different. So matching younger brothers with mentors, uncles, that's where uncles, the extended Black family comes. Try to develop the village mentality very early. In my life, my son Ellison, we have a village, and I was recently sick and I had to be more formalized, with the village. But I wrote down, these are the list of people, if something happened to me, that are going to look out for my son. It wasn't a long list, but it was a list of some strong brothers. You was on that list. I know that you will fill in the gaps for me if something happens to me, right? So developing that village mentality early, so your son is exposed to men and exposed to different men. The interesting thing is that we place a hierarchy on what kind of man, right? So you see this brother James Baldwin behind me. The reason why he's so significant in my life, my mother gave me the fire next time when I was in my revolutionary, still a revolutionary, but just rage. I was like saying whitey every 5 minutes, like I was in this rage. So she gave me James Baldwin and said, hey, you need to start reading some things of brothers that have been where you are. She gave me The Fire Next Time, James Baldwin. She gave me Richard Wright's biography, Black Boy. And what that did for me was help me develop a sense of coping, but they were talking to a younger brother who had been there before. And so those books became critical to my development, and why my son is named Ralph Ellison to this day is because of Ralph Ellison's work, Invisible Man. And so those things became critical to my development because I was able to see how other brothers traversed the world, what they went through, how they bounced back, because it's about the bounce back, right? I don't want to hear a story, and every time I hear the story, you ain't telling me what you went through. Oh, I made it to Morehouse, and speaking of Morehouse, because my dad went to Morehouse, and I have a 4.0 GPA, I drive a BMW. No, I want to know what you did when you had a BMW payment 1 month. That's what's going to help me. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to hit a 4.0 and all the money. Tell me how you got there, and tell me how you got over struggles. And that's why, I watch documentaries, man, because, behind the music and, these documentaries, you learn the story. And so the stories give you the antidote to white supremacy. So if you follow Coltrane's story, if you follow Thelonious Monk's story, they all battle white supremacy through their art. If Coltrane is not dealing with the things of being from rural North Carolina, being in the business, people thinking that he's a failure because he branched out on his own, and he goes through this spiritual awakening in his house because he's meditating, trying to find himself. We get a love supreme. You know what I'm saying? Love supreme is his psychological strategy to get out of the funk he was in as a black man. So him trying to find himself in a world that forecasted his demise is how we get a love supreme. You look at Prince, Minneapolis, short brother, Afro, light skinned but funky. You know what I'm saying? People did not accept Prince. So what do we get? We get When Doves Cry. So everyone that has struggled with this black male development piece has somehow found a way or a conduit to get over it. So we don't have Prince. We don't have Coltrane at Thelonious Monk without the white supremacist struggles that they've gone through.
So let's say with Michael K.
Yeah.
What should we leave with at this point?
What should we get from his death?
Yes.
Every brother in your life needs a phone call, a hug, and a DoorDash. Like send them a meal or something, right? So what I'm basically saying is that this is a wake-up call that black men suffer in silence, that we are cut dead by the experience and killed slowly every day. And so we have to increase our awareness and be more proactive. Brothers, because of toxic masculinity that we learn from white people, are not very good at telling what's going wrong with them. But if you create a space where a brother feels comfortable and trusts you, you'll get everything you need to know. So when a brother says, man, I'm just out here doing my thing, man, just hope I make it to Monday, then you need to say, don't leave that alone. You need to say, what do you need to make it to Monday? How you feeling? And you might find out the brother just need to talk. So y'all meet up for chicken wings Saturday to help get him to Monday. So when people say things, learn to read between the lines. Well, I'm just out here looking for a job. It just don't seem like nobody want to hire me. Look at his resume. Follow up. It might not even be the resume, but it might be some other things he's doing in the interview. So pay attention and be more proactive and ask brothers how they feel. How you holding up? How you hanging? You know what I'm saying? Whatever the term is, my students say my terms are old as hell. So I'm like, I'm chilling. They was like, chilling? So, just pay more attention. Because I'm sure, and this is because I'm trained as a counselor, that if I was around Michael K., I would see signs that the average person wouldn't see. So pay attention to the subtleties. You know what I'm saying? He's not coming out. He's very non-expressive about this particular topic. So just pay more attention to the black man in your life and be proactive. Don't wait around. Lives are dependent on this. Reach out. It doesn't take an incident to reach out. Do it before something happens. So that's what I think we can learn from this situation. And I'm not saying that his death could be avoided, because my spiritual makeup, I understand that the universe gives us what we need at particular times, and things happen as they're supposed to, even when they don't make sense. So there's something to be gained, from this brother passing on to the other side. And he may have to go to the other side to watch out for other brothers. So we might be avoiding things that Michael K. is up there pulling the strings. Like, no, Ed, you're going to stay at home. Don't go to the store tonight. So there's a reason for everything, but be more cognizant and more caring and more compassionate with the brothers in your life.
So in closing, man, I want to make sure that our readers know exactly where to find you. You know what I'm saying? And what's next? So if you could just close us on out, brother. Bring us home.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you an exclusive. Okay, so you gave me an opportunity. I'm going to drop an exclusive. So you can always reach me at edwardgarnes.com. Like that'll link to everything, get you where you need to be. So edwardgarnes.com. My last name is Garnes. Just think Barnes with a G. But I'm going to give you an exclusive. So hopefully before, I guess they call it the fourth quarter, when you're launching projects. It may happen in the fourth quarter, but definitely by the first quarter of 2022 is that I'm releasing my first poetry book. It is entitled, I know you're like, oh my God, right? I've been 20-something years, right? 25 years of my work. It's called I'm about to say another title because my titles are crazy. The title of the book is Blues Ain't the Only Color of Jazz. And just like this brother Baldwin, Nikki Giovanni played a key role where the anchor press quote comes from Nikki Giovanni. So this is an exclusive. I'm giving YBE the exclusive. So hopefully we can come back and talk about it more. But yeah, Blues Ain't the Only Color of Jazz is coming. My poetry book is done, just in the editing phase now. And Nikki Giovanni co-signed it, man. So I mean, I'm straight. I passed out. When the quote came back over Gmail, I was like, because she was so influential. I think you know her influence, man, on my work. So that's the exclusive, man. Y'all heard it here first. You know, I believe in independent black media. So edwardgarnes.com. And then also look for Blues Ain't the Only Color of Jazz, my poetry collection spanning 25 years of work.
All right, so that's what it is. YBE, man, I want to make sure y'all share this. Make sure you tag a brother that you love, tag a sister that you love. And our mission with YBE is to make sure that you know who you're supposed to know way before you're going to get to know. You know what I'm saying? So we bring it to you first. And like I said, this is a dear brother, man. So make sure you support him. His link will be below. And you know what I'm saying? Like listen in. Check in with us. You know what I'm saying?
I do want to say one more thing, okay? Mm-hmm. It's really not about being all-knowing. It's a lot of things that I do not know. I try to only speak on things that I know. But I surround myself with individuals that are compassionate, loving, and can give me the tools in the areas that I'm weak in. And so I don't see my weaknesses as bad things. I see them as opportunities for growth. So even though I might have a little knowledge above average in the psych world, there's somebody know more than me. You know, so I think about one of my mentors, Adesai Ajumu. Like, man, I came right in the psych world. Brother runs circles around me, but he mentors me, right? And gap fills for me. So it's not necessarily about being all-knowing, because I'm not all-knowing. I'm not perfect. I sin in moderation, just like the next person. But it's about surrounding yourself with people that can help you, man. And so that's what I try to do, and what I encourage other people to do is just surround yourself with people that know things that you don't know and can help you on your journey.
Appreciate it, bro.
I appreciate you, man. This is liberating for me because, see, I've been holding in all this Michael K stress all week. So, man, I feel great right now just to have the opportunity to talk.
I'm glad you're here, bro. Well, this is YBE.
Thank you.
Like I said, the link will be here. We're going to do what we do. Thank you, bro.
Oh, I appreciate you, bro.
Bro.